You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's cool.
A lot to talk about.
Yeah, this is the first time I've tried getting a live caller working, so I'm just figuring it all out too.
Cool. Well, Gerald and Matt LaCroix and them, they seem to be pretty good at it. They get those, they do those podcasts, and they're pretty good at it. I'll say that. But you know, when you're dealing with Gerald Clark, I mean, hell, hey,
Yeah, no, their shows have been really good. I've watched quite a few of them so far.
unfreaking real truth bombs. Just you know, this is who Jesus is. This is who so and so is. Here's the proof. Here's the text. Here's what it says. And Gerald's just kind of helping connect all the dots. Eh?
Yeah. All right, just 1 second. I'm going to try this here.
Okay. Pretty cool stuff you got on there.
Thanks.
Yeah, that looks really cool. Really cool. Don't people like hearing? You know, everybody else who shows me, huh? What's that? I'll just save it for a minute.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Got my first guest on here. And we're just getting our Skype connection set up here. Our Facebook live chat.
I'll put some power here so don't go dead on us.
Alright, I think it's all set up and ready to go. Alright, thanks for joining me at the last minute here. Yeah, that looks pretty good now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were just talking about Gerald Clark's work and how he does some awesome live streams about the Anunnaki and stuff. So, yeah, I guess, yeah, you were asking a couple questions about some of the slides I had at the beginning of the show there? Or?
Yes, just awesome stuff. Over 35 years ago, I was with a girl and I watched a documentary showing the Sumerian text in the Bible, and it compared the two together.
Yeah.
It was about a 2-hour documentary. It was incredible. I awoken right then. And what they were telling me in those Sumerian texts, that this was a reality, that this truth that they were speaking was more chances of where we came from in the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, all the religious texts were a backup showing the truth, just like more of a history book to our ancient Sumerian texts, the Anu-Malish, the Atrahasis, the Gilgamesh, all the excellent old texts that most of us awakened people have, read over the past 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, it's really neat how those two books connect so much together. Sometimes I wonder if maybe even Adam and Eve were the first Sumerians.
Oh, sure they are, right?
Yeah.
As Gerald's explaining, it's just fascinating when you think about it, that in the Garden of Eden, Enlil, the crazy dictator brother, he's God in the Testament, and Enki is the snake in the garden.
Yeah.
And everything so twisted, that dualarity of life since the first planet in creation. If you think about it, the first planet was created many eons ago, and there was light and there was dark, and from that moment right up till you and I sitting speaking tonight, it's light, it's dark, Enki, Enlil, that dualarity will never leave this matrix that we live in. It's something you and I will deal with, the whole time we're here.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Just and you just want to learn more and more. The more you find out about it, the more fascinating it becomes. The more that the chakras begin to open up, and the more the more attracted you become to it, and the more fascinated you become. For me, anyway.
Yeah. Now, I've seen Gerald Clark's making a new movie, I think, with the animation software. I'm really looking forward to when he has that thing going.
Yeah, that's going to be really soon. So we've been all trying to donate to a key. The name that they used for Earth before they got here was, they called it Key, right?
Yeah, like Anu and Key. Yeah.
And Key, right? So
Yeah.
he Lord of Earth and Key, right? That's his EA, right? Was his name when he came here. I think something very, very fascinating, and I don't know why this just popped in my head, but I just want to mention this, that
Sure.
them talking about first 450,000 years ago, first coming to the planet. And in the writings, I remember it's saying that the first being to jump out of the craft into the water, like shallow, they pulled up near the shore where the Euphrates and the Tigris River are, and the first being to jump out had this fish sort of suit on. Well, the only person we've ever seen that wears that suit is Enki. So it would have been him, the first one who jumped out into the water, walked up onto the shore, looked around, and made home. Called that home, and it's just, it blows my mind. The more you read those texts, and the more detailed, the more you go over them again and again, the more details you learn, and the more you understand of, they created us for a reason. I think in the end, we just became a fun little project and some slaves, but
Yeah.
I think that,
No, it's kind of neat too that the Dogons seem to have a similar belief system in that too, that their god came from the water, or their creator and such. And I think even some of their pictures that we have the similar image of a guy that looks like a fish, or in a fish suit at least.
again, completely incredible. They're interviewed in the 1930s. They've never seen a white guy, and they go in, interview him, and ask him, "Where do you come from?" The star Cyrus C.
Yeah.
And just it goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and just fascinating about Australia saying they have 65 to 75,000 years of history as well. Of
Wow.
The Hopi Indians in the United States, again, the sky people showing these giant doorways that they have. So it's from Israel, from the Middle East and Mesopotamia, all the way to South America.
Yeah.
Just everywhere. It seems these beings had a one world, deal going on. They built pyramids all over the place. They used them as power generators.
Yeah.
This is a lot of information we're throwing all at once. But again, remember that we've been awake for more than a week or two. So somebody who studied understands what we're speaking about, right?
Yeah. No, I've done a couple of little shows on this stuff before, so if anyone's not sure about it, they can just jump into the archive and do a little bit of catch up, or definitely check out Gerald Clark's work. He explains it a lot better than I can.
Then both of us can. That's
Yeah.
They have a podcast coming up Saturday.
Yeah, I heard about that one with Matt and who's the other guy?
Matt LaCroix. It'll be Rex
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah, Rex. Yeah, his show is really good too. He mentioned that he might have me on as a guest sometime. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, he has the best guests and the most wide, you know what I mean.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot of hits on his videos. He's almost gone mainstream for YouTube, I guess, right?
Yeah, he's actually making a living doing it. If you think about it, you get that many hits, he's actually making a few bucks here and there doing it. So
Nice. Yeah, it'd be like a dream come true.
really neat guy. You won't be disappointed if you get on there. I mean, Matthew LaCroix with The Illusion of Us, his book, The Illusion of Us.
Yeah.
Gerald is almost teamed up with him, and he seems to lay it out so well the way Matt lays it out. It's just beautiful, the way he lays it out. So my advice to people, years and years ago, all we had was what's his name? That was a fully awakened person. You could go on YouTube quite a few years ago. His name slips my mind. I send people to him all the time to watch his videos. He passed away, I think, a year or 2 years ago.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm not sure who you mean.
But Matthew LaCroix is the new age, the young guy now. The same,
Yeah.
right, He's gone through the writings, come up with the same, the same story from all the detailed writing from all these ancient texts, and put it all together, and then using, having Gerald Clark there to be the backup. It's just kind of like nothing gets put out of place then. Whereas someone like me, I might say something a little bit wrong, whereas they're not gonna. The podcast on the weekend coming up here. It'll be at 1 o'clock, I believe, on Saturday. On the 11th, yeah, it'll be on. So it's on the Dakotas of Truth, or it's Rex Bear actually that's hosting it. So it'll be
nice.
live on, what's it called? What's his show? The Rex is on YouTube.
Yeah, I've got him in my contact list here, but now that I have the show going, I can't look it up.
Myself too. I've got it as well. Be the change you want to see. I know that's the.
Yeah. No, it's a really good show. I'm going to try to watch it, but I shovel snow for a living, so my schedule might be, we'll see how it goes.
So I've been delivering tires lately, and it got busy there for a while today. We had no snow, didn't have to work today, so.
Oh yeah, you're in Canada too, right?
Yeah, I'm in Calgary.
Alberta. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm in Ontario near Toronto, so we're just starting to get snow here now.
All right, so us too, eh? Love this shot here, this pictorial that you just put up right now. This is just a great depiction, eh?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite versions of the wing disc, and I actually did a show about it a few weeks ago, but the audio turned out really crappy, so I got to record it again. But yeah, it's kind of a neat theory that I came up about the wing disc, and how Gerald Clark's really into the idea that they're spaceships and all, but it's like I found another theory that involves this wing disc that they might actually be using stargates rather than just ships, or maybe a combination of both, probably. So maybe I'll run that by you and see if you've ever heard of it before.
Oh yeah, and I think you're right. I think the stargates have a lot to do with these pyramids. So the gold cap that was on the pyramid, the way that the holes are made, the way the chemicals were put in,
yeah,
and King's chamber out to the Queen's chamber, as it made this energy, what they're saying, it would leave that cap and go up to even a giant mirror on one of the ships.
No kidding, a mirror on the ship. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
And thinking about it, there's obelisks all over the world, and they're made of iron, and they carry kinetic energy like that, just incredibly. It wouldn't take much, and they've shown it on Ancient Aliens. Really interesting about a one world currency, literally a current covering the entire planet, using these obelisks and using these pyramids as generators. Now I'm wondering, they're talking about it too. They explain it a lot better than you and I do, right?
Yeah.
But the thing, we have the understanding, okay, if they fired these things up, they use these gold caps, did those beams, those light energy beams, did they leave from those pyramids and go all the way to the 3 stars on the belt of Orion? Did they use that? Some sort of a trans way of getting into something and using it as an energy source to be able to go from one place to another, really quick.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the more advanced way of doing it, rather than just doing the nuts and bolts old style of fashion ships.
Right.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary the other day, and he was the guy. What's his name? He is so good, man. I couldn't believe it. He was saying these ships. He said they took me on. They're conscious. These ships have a consciousness. Like everything has a consciousness. It's pretty fascinating. But again,
wow.
someone for a very, very advanced researcher, talking about ships being, every blade of grass on this planet being connected to us being connected to every plant, every mineral, everything ever formed. We're all connected in one. So
yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's learning about this stuff. It's kind of like playing the guitar or the bass or something. You can get good at it fairly quickly, but it's going to take you a few lifetimes to master it. And it's all, there's so much to just keep learning more and more, and you think you've learned enough. Well, I've been awake for 35 years now, and I'm constantly learning more.
Yeah. I used to read the Bible a lot, and then after learning about the Anunnaki, it's like you can go back to the Bible, and it's like a whole new meaning that you didn't even see the first time. Right? It's pretty wild.
Then you realize that Enlil, really fascinating character. Enki's here already for 3,600 years.
Yeah.
Anu, the father, sends Enlil here after, and tells him, well, go get your brother going. Probably, give him a kick in the pants. Let's get this gold going quicker here. But they're making this white cake stuff, and they're all consuming it. Then when Anu comes here to look at this Adamu, or this adoptive being that was created, what's the first thing? You guys all look old. He looks at his kids, and you guys are aging so fast. So that's the point they started to really make that monatomic gold and begin consuming it, right?
Yeah.
And trying to stop the aging process from going on. And Gerald and them, they really talk about that. It's really fascinating to learn about it. And I think it's so much information over a period of 30 years. You learn some, you forget some. You learn some. There's so much information. It's kind of like an endless music story.
Yeah.
You learn 200 songs to play on the guitar. You're going to forget 100. You're going to learn another 200. You forgot another 100. And that's almost learning about this esoteric knowledge is the same.
Yeah.
There's so much to learn, and all my friends are saying that to me. Wow, there's so much to this. They come over, and I got a big TV in here, and I click it on. They come over, and we sit and we watch and watch and watch, and they can't get enough of it.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought up that idea with them going to Sirius, because I've been researching that for the past couple of years, and I got a slide here about that one. See if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. Here, I'll just close this. No, they had those mystery chefs that they found in the Great Pyramid of Egypt, and they happened to notice that one of them was pointing at Orion's belt, so I don't think that's a coincidence, right? And then, oh yeah, Orion's belt points to Sirius, so that's like the real connector there.
Yes. Yeah. How do we wind the clock back 450,000 years, and they line up perfectly with those stars on the belt? Is that a coincidence? 450,000 years ago? Isn't that kind of strange if they're saying they landed here 450,000 years ago? The dude with the fish suit, Enki, that must be him, jumps, he's the first person out in the water, crawls up under the land, and boom, that's the Euphrates River right there.
Yeah.
Fascinating that all these texts tell us this, that how we came from, how we got here. But I think some of the most compelling texts, where a lot of them probably were burned in the fire of Alexandria.
Yeah, it's a real shame that happened. No, but I was checking that winged disc symbol that the Sumerians or the Mesopotamians used, and I found out it matched a bunch that were pretty much all over the world, like India, Asia, America, Africa. And then the real kicker was that in Asia, they still had one of theirs left in the museum, right?
Yes. They're I think they're right. I think it's a universal group of beings that were the same beings throughout the entire planet, some 450,000 to 200,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Took control and really shaped this planet, to all these megalithic sites that we see today. Looking at the blocks that are in Baalbek, looking at what it says in the Bible, in the Quran, the Torah.
It's everywhere.
It says it in all the books about this being a giant landing pad. They meant that those motherships could come in. I don't know about that. I don't know if a ship that big would be able to come that close to the ground without discharging. So, but I mean, Baalbek is a fantastic place that they would have been coming in and landing, and leaving and going from there. That would have been the launch place, I guess, right?
Yeah. No, my theory is that they were using, mirrors for stargates, and it was actually this one picture out of Japan that helped me decipher it, because they broke down the winged disc symbol on that sacred tree into 3 objects, and one of them happened to be a mirror. So, and they even called it the mirror for wisdom. So I was like, maybe a communication device or an actual stargate too.
Incredible, eh?
Yeah, and then I was looking into the Magi, how they used to stargaze all the time, and then I figured out maybe that's what they were using the mirror for. Somewhat similar to how network cables mirror images so that they can communicate over a computer network. I think that's what they were doing, is using a mirror to view Sirius and then being able to decode messages after it's been mirrored, just like the networking cables.
Wow.
Yeah, and then a couple other the winged disc symbols around the world. I think this one's from the Assyrians. I noticed that it really depicts him standing in a mirror. You can even see the handle, and his body's going through the gate, right?
They're showing the same ones with Jesus, and all of them. They're showing the same. Do you know what I mean? It's much more modern. This is much more depicted, though.
Yeah.
Look at this and how well and detailed that is. Nobody's trying to tell us something here that's not real. This is what was happening. This is what was going on, and
Yeah.
this shows that, perfectly shows that.
Now there's a bit of a shamanic connection here too. It seems like that he's holding plants almost like opium or something. So I was wondering if that's how they enhanced the mirrors to work, was with the shamanic type tools.
Right, using the mushrooms, probably. You know,
Yeah.
the DMT.
Yeah, each culture had their own certain plant, I guess, that they would be able to find near them. So I guess it would be a little bit different in each case. And then I was checking, what is it, that really famous ceiling in Egypt, forget the name of it now, to see if I could find any proof of this mirror theory. And then I noticed that they had Thoth standing next to a mirror. And it was almost like all of the pharaohs had to line up in front of a giant mirror to communicate with Thoth. Huh?
Oh, he's gonna love you on there. This is gonna be great, my friend.
Yeah,
Very,
thanks.
very,
Um,
very, very intuitive thinking here and looking, and really got to think outside the box. We're
yeah.
talking about people that might be a million years ahead of us in technology.
Yeah. No, it's weird how even the media, or like Disney, portrayed mirrors as communication devices. And what was that, Snow White or something? That mirror on the wall part, and they were using mirrors for communication. So it's almost like some insiders in Hollywood have been onto this sort of information for years and are just leaking it out to the public gradually, sort of. Right?
Yes, slow disclosure, eh?
Yeah, then there was a mirror that I found out from Egypt that had the same look to it as that one. So that's why I really think that it's a mirror that they're standing next to. And then that Eye of Ra symbol was always known for protection. I was always trying to figure out what were they protected from. And it's like if this was some sort of communication or universal internet, maybe that there's viruses involved in it, and that's why they were putting it on the mirrors.
Right, right.
It's like the first virus symbol to ever exist. Like how we have, what is it, Norton antivirus and all that stuff.
Right, right.
Because yeah, they talk about demonic possession and that can happen. So maybe that's what was one of the risks of using these mirrors as portals.
Allowing the archons to come in.
Yeah.
A lower vibrational than the third dimension even, and by then playing around with them would open up little holes that they could get in here and try to get inside human bodies and take control of people, supposedly, right?
Yeah.
This is, everybody has their own thought or idea about that, but it's something that's been mentioned before. I've heard a lot of it on the Decoders of Truth, speaking about archons.
Yeah. No, when I was in the museum in Toronto this year, I happened to find one of the winged disc symbols with that Eye of Ra on it too. So I was really happy to, to locate that one. It's like I'm going to have to go back to that museum and try to get a better picture, but this is the best one I could get.
I can still see it though. I'm on my phone even, never mind my...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was one of the offering tables up north that I've been researching a lot lately, and I was trying to test it out by stargazing Sirius to see if I could get it to work. And it's neat that you have to bring a large pail of water to fill them, and it kind of reminded me of that Anunnaki bag that they use. People always talk about that special bag.
Yeah, and we've all had... and I have my own thought of what it is. I think it's the waters of life. I think it's
some sort of kind of holy water. Yeah.
Some kind of energy bag. Like everything is energy, right? Frequency and energy, right? Everything is light and energy. So it's something to do with, well, the cone obviously being something. When you see Enki standing at the tree with the pine cone, right?
Yeah, they usually have the pine cone in one hand and the bag in the other.
Yes, and we know that we have this pineal gland that's in us, this crystalline pineal gland, along with our 7 chakras. So obviously trying to tell us something. And if you go to the front of the Catholic Vatican right now, you go in front of their giant building, and there is this 100-foot pine cone right in front of it. That on Dakota. I think fascinating. Like, just to learn all this stuff, it's like, wow.
Yeah. How can that be another coincidence?
Can't be. Our symbol has been here for eons and eons and eons. It's just a shame how that everything has been twisted from the one brother being the good brother and the other one being the bad one. Really, kind of way around. That's the only shame of it, right?
No, I found another clue when I was visiting these offering tables up north, is they had these mushrooms growing next to them, and I got some help identifying, and it turned out to be the shamanic mushrooms nonetheless. And the weirdest part is they bloom in the dog days of summer, and the best star to look at is the dog star Sirius for this connection. So it's almost like the universe has its own design built into it, right? Where all this stuff isn't happening in the right time at the right place for nothing, right?
It's funny, I watched a podcast yesterday with Joe Clark. It was about 2 hours long, and he had an expert on there that had this beautiful mushroom-made hat on.
Oh, wow.
And he was a mushroom expert, and he went,
Nice.
I couldn't believe what he was saying about mushrooms.
Yeah.
So everywhere this much on our planet, how many different pieces of bacteria from mushrooms are in every square inch of this planet that we're walking on right now?
No, it's kind of neat too that mushrooms are actually closer to animals on the DNA chart, I guess. They're not even really plants. They act the same way where they breathe oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide just like mammals do, and they don't use photosynthesis either. They use another type of cell division for growth.
Wow, eh?
Yeah.
It's just that documentary that guy goes deep into it. Oh, does he go into the mushrooms?
Yeah, I'll have to watch that.
Logan podcast. It was on yesterday.
Nice.
It's a really one. Just go on there. I think once you watch that, I should have recorded it. It was that good.
Nice.
That's one. Just the information's coming at you so fast. What he's saying. It's just if you record it, you can listen to it over and over, and you can really pick up a lot more off of it, right?
Yeah, some of these are so in depth you gotta listen to it a few times.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny. The shape of CERN and all the experiments they have going on there kind of reminds me of these mirror technologies, and maybe that's the overall goal that CERN's going for, is a mirror that allows the Anunnaki to get here more permanently, rather than just using the mirror for communication or temporary travel.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they've ever left. They've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
You and I are a piece of them. We're not the purebred of them, but we're a little dummied down version of them, right?
Yeah. No, they couldn't make us as strong as them because they were worried that we were going to overthrow them one day or something.
I think in the beginning, the first beings that were created that lived when Anu came here, and when Enlil came and saw how those beings were before Atrahasis or Adam or Noah. Before him, they were really powerful human beings. They were a lot larger than us.
Yeah.
I think they used telepathy to speak to each other. I think they were so much more advanced than we were. That Enlil had that meeting with the 12 royal families. Today, supposedly, are still alive on this planet today, and they're known as the Illuminati, the Rothschilds, the Bilderbergs. These are the same bloodlines of these people that are here controlling this planet, knowing 99% of everything today. Anyway. They're running the narrative. They're letting you see on TV and on the news and everything what they want you to see. So they still have control, So most people think, most of us crazy awakened people, we all think that, right? So kind of look at it in a way that they knew what they were doing, and they're a lot smarter, and they knew that if they left those humans alive that were pre-Noah's flood, that they might be able to build something and make their way on a spaceport and show up at Nibiru's doorstep. And I'll tell you, that would be Enlil's hugest nightmare if we showed up there. So it made sense that he organized the 12 royal bloodlines. Said, we're going to have a meeting. The planet's going to flood. You can't warn anybody. Let everybody pass away. He was mad at Enki that Enki had helped, Atrahasis or Noah survive. He's my son. I couldn't let him die. So think about it, the bloodlines and how many people and how much lineage came, white people anyway, would have come a lot from that lineage. And you got to think of that.
Well, there's the Dead Sea Scroll text that says Noah was actually a special type of albino and that he almost glowed. So it's like he really could have been the progenitor to so many different people if he was that special, right?
You're correct. He scared his father so much that he bolted out of the house when he saw his eyes. When he opened his, the whole room lit up. His father just bolted. He knew it had some star beings, right?
Yeah. No, it's neat. We actually got a question here from one of the viewers. I'll just read it here quick. Let's see what we got. Yeah, he's just mentioned that, hi, you just mentioned CERN. What do you think about human sacrifice? Well, it's weird. That question relates to the previous slide I went to. This ancient offering table up north is known as one of the most sacred or ancient spots for sacrifices in all of North America. So So I think there is a connection maybe between it. And it was cool too, in part of my research, I found out that Cain might have been involved in coming all the way to this offering table, that this might have been the spot of Nod. And his whole original story was about a sacrifice where him and his brother were fighting over it, right? Cain and Abel, and how he killed his brother over a sacrifice.
Right, right.
Yeah, so thanks for the question there, Professor Lewis.
Oh, and Cain being one of Enki's offspring and Abel being one of Enlil's, right? Just so that if people don't know that Cain and Abel, that was the whole thing with that, right? One was Enki's offspring and one is Enlil's offspring.
Yeah.
So, I think almost every white person today on this planet must be either Enkiite or Enlilite, and more of one than the other.
Well, I noticed it a bit too. Who was that one translator that used to work for the Vatican? And he started explaining some of the defects that people had from being close to that lineage, and how it's like they would always have sore backs or excessive body hair and not be able to sleep properly and stuff. And I was like, man, it's a lot of the same issues that I've been going through and a lot of the pharaohs used to go through. It's like you can see that there is still that connection going back to ancient times. It's like we still have some of the same problems that we've never gotten out of our genetics yet. It's like,
no, very well said. I mean, that it's something that we're never going to get away from, and it's just gravity, isn't it? It just pounds it right out of us. Every one of us have the same problems. Anybody who's up and walking around, you have back problems.
Yeah.
Eventually.
No, it's kind of neat too that there was some crop circle pictures that came out that looked really close to the winged disc and even the sacred tree. So wouldn't it be neat if it was the Anunnaki that were involved with some of the man-made crop circles?
Yeah, it's so weird, some of them that are made, and I think you've seen some of them that are very, very strange looking.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to give us clues on how to reconnect to the Anunnaki knowledge or something.
Yeah, from what we can gather, we have these chakras and we have this pineal gland, and we've been given this, and we're somehow able to meditate and begin to connect and hopefully learn about ascension. Other people say, well, that's got to be wrong. At first it's descension for the first 6,000 years. Now everybody wants to learn how to ascend, and it becomes a real quandary that people really start to argue and fight about. But I think that this probably is a prison planet that we live on. We've agreed to come here and help raise man's consciousness, or something along those lines.
Yeah. No, what I think it is if you look at the Zoroastrian design of this winged disc, or I'll go back to that slide, or maybe I'll just select it up here. I don't know if they really called it a prison planet, but they were saying that their winged disc god, here it is, he always had his hand raised in the fashion that he was like going to raise the difficulty of our planet, not to like torture us and make it a prison, but to just sort of push mankind to evolve to the next level, sort of thing. Yeah?
You don't have the one that I have. It shows this raised wing that he has, and then it shows the humans below with the chains from one neck to another.
Oh, chains.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
Yeah, I think maybe I have, but a few years ago, maybe, yeah.
So it shows either Enki up in it and Enlil's on the ground on the other side, and you see it's got chained from human neck to human neck with leather collars, and it goes around. It's pretty, you got to see this one. And it's a bowl. It's a bowl is what it is, a huge bowl.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually one of the next slides I was coming up to. I was looking into how that offering table up north can hold liquid, and then I noticed that, the Gunterstock cauldron out of, I guess it was found in Denmark. It was a bowl too, and it had some symbology on it that reminded me of the Anunnaki, because he's holding on to the serpent and the ring, and I showed him that Zoroastrian one before too, how he's always holding the ring. And then usually the guys underneath, like the Anunnaki, are holding onto the serpents that come down from the mirror. So that could be it. It's like, here's another Anunnaki one where they're always using these giant bowls for like some sort of sacrifice purpose, or maybe to connect to the ancient internet, the Akashic records.
I'll send you the one that I have when we're done, just so you have it, because it shows so well, and the leather and the chains, and it's.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
What we were really probably what we were really created for, because it's a real bowl like what we're looking at. This is another one, but the depiction on it is very detailed, very, very detailed.
Yeah. No, and then that offering table shape that I found up north was matched in a lot of cases, like Egypt and others around the world. And then I noticed that what is it, King Tut's chair? It's like he happens to be holding on to these. I think who was it? Really good researchers always talked about the symbology of holding the two serpents or two poles on either side.
Right.
And then I was wondering, like, why did King Tut have his leg up like that in such a weird position? And then there was a researcher, what's his name? William Tyler Alcott. He showed how Orion's symbology had that same leg raised position. So it's almost like this is symbology for connecting to Sirius again. Just by, like, maybe through these liquids that you keep in bowls or offering tables to stargaze into Sirius. Get that reflection going.
Someone who's so far ahead of us, anything's possible, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's just it's just fantastic. You can just open your mind up and think about all these things. Just thinking about it, even it's pretty incredible. I love the two snakes that he's showing, as we know today, the caduceus symbol that we have for the two snakes interwound. It's our medical symbol. It's still Enki's symbol to this day, eh?
Yeah. Here, where do I got one here? Like the Phoenicians used to carry. I think I have one at the beginning of my slides too. No, it was neat. I was doing a lot of research into the Phoenicians, and I found out, man, were they ever close to the ancient Mesopotamians? They used to predict or show people standing next to giants, just like the Mesopotamians did. They had the winged disc and the sacred tree symbology. It's like, I don't know how people overlooked that the Phoenicians were so close to them.
And as being very serious travelers at a really early age in the history of humans, the Phoenicians were able to travel a lot. If I'm correct, didn't they use bone and skin taunt boats they made, and they traveled everywhere?
Yeah.
And they were the first people to take seashells and crush them up, and they made this purple dye out of these shells. They didn't tell us for a while, so they could actually sell the material all throughout this purple, linen throughout the world, right?
Yeah, churches even still use that purple color for the robes of priests a lot too.
Yeah, a sign of power and wealth, a sign of royalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Now I should show you another slide too, that King Tut one that I was looking at with the two poles. People always talk about that one from South America. It was like an ancient astronaut type design. Mm-hmm. And then I noticed so many similarities between the two, how the chair they're sitting on has flames symbology underneath it, how Pakal was holding controls, right. King Tut's holding onto things, and how he's got his legs bent in a weird position just like King Tut did. And then the only thing that was getting me that they weren't the same was I thought this wasn't a winged disc at the very top of Pakal's, but then I realized that it was actually a bird and it's sitting sideways on the perch instead of face on, so that's why we don't see the wings sticking out the same way we do in a traditional winged disc.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm hoping like maybe one day this will become more popular. People will realize that it wasn't just, Lord Pakal that was the ancient astronaut, but King Tut was using the same type of technology.
Yes, all around the planet they were.
Yeah.
They were traveling from one part of the planet to the other. Daily they were doing that. And all these ancient texts, it tells us that. But I don't think people look at it as that way. People that haven't studied the text don't think that. It's all fake. This is all, to them, it's all fables and not real. It's all fake stuff.
Yeah. Well, legends, I guess, have been talked about for so many years, and then it's hard to believe that so many of these legends could be true. Yeah, and I made a little diagram here starting to try to plot the dates, and I hope no one takes these dates as verbatim but checks them out, because I'm just working on the dates still too. I have a long way to go in getting them all correct. But who is it? Anita, the wife of Anu, she was shown holding those two double images too, and it turned out the plant is a lotus flower, which also had the shamanic properties to it, right?
Right.
And then you had the Phoenician version, or the Canaanites, how they used to hold on to the same symbology. Then you had the Phoenicians, and it's weird how the Phoenicians almost look like the King Tut chair we just covered too, right?
Yes.
It's like such a similar one. Yeah, and then we had, was it the pagans from Denmark that were doing it? The Siberian shaman were holding on to the dual serpents, the druids from England, and then even the pharaohs. So I wonder
Yeah.
if it even traces back to like that story of the Tower of Babel and how it fell and all these cultures split into different languages, but still some of the original teachings remained, even with the different languages.
Yes. Supposedly, from what Gerald and them were saying, that Tower of Babel, it was some sort of spacecraft that they were trying to make, and when Enlil had come back here and seen that, he smashed it to pieces and supposedly split their tongues and changed their languages. That's the interpretation I got of what they're saying on a few of the podcasts.
Yeah, that's a very interesting theory. I
Yeah,
uh, I mapped out some of Noah's lineage here and tried to trace it, and with the help of some of the pagan history, I think what is it from the Irish book called the what is it? I got it here, and can never seem to pronounce this one. Labor Gabala Aaron, I think it's called. Well, they talk about the pagans, how they knew all about the Tower of Babel, and they had traced who built it and why it was taken over. And I guess there was a large gold theft involved when the tower went down too. So there was
sounds like
maybe even some money involved in the
our
back then.
the twin towers in North America.
Yeah.
The ground, all of a sudden, the gold's gone. Where'd the gold go? It's gone.
Yeah, so they listed some of the names of the bloodlines that were involved, and I was able to match it all the way back to Noah. So I just marked in red to the people that got wiped out. Like the Magogs, we actually found, where I found some evidence here in North America that their tribe was here and that they were giants, they had red hair, and they were using cannibalism to extend their lives. So they were
Right.
living a lot longer than regular people were.
They would have been the mound builders that built the serpent mounds here in North America.
Yeah, I wonder about that too. I know it's a controversial theory, but it could very well be true with
Well,
everything.
in the writings, it speaks of Enki warning Neosudra, who's Noah,
Yeah,
and his son, to build this giant ship. And then from what they gather, all the DNA and the essence, they freeze everything on this boat. And then Enki goes and sits by the moon and waits as the Nemesis comes in and does his debut and leaves after 3,600 years, and then comes back and restore all the plants and animals to the planet. And
yeah,
then after spends a lot of time with these mound people you're speaking of here in North America. It's fascinating because all the bodies that have been found 10, 12, 14 feet high, the Smithsonian got a hold of them in the past how many years, and they've hidden them and they don't talk about it. It's under the carpet. No.
yeah. No, from what I heard, the Smithsonian was actually throwing some of them out just because they didn't fit the established narrative. And it's like I don't think scientists would do that anymore. It's like you have to examine it before you just throw it out, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, and it's weird too. I was checking it's almost like Noah had that pagan history even with his kids when he was naming them because he named one of his grandsons Ashur, and then Ashur was also the god of the winged disc that the Assyrians followed. So it's weird how he would name his son after the god in the winged disc if he wasn't a pagan, right?
And that's the exact same three lineages that Gerald's got in my esoteric room I have here. It's the
Nice.
same. He's got the same setup right there that comes from Chem, Shem, and what's the middle one? What's the other one there? There's three of them.
Yeah,
Three.
Japheth,
Yeah,
Ham, Shem,
yeah.
and then it went down to the Canaanites, the Hittites, and then the capital.
You got to see what's above that, though. What you're looking at there, you got to see what's above that
Yeah.
goes to the top from Anu and Ki, who are Enki and Enlil's and Ninma's mom, Isis's parents.
Yeah,
And
that's why I love watching Gerald Clark's work. It's like he can dig so much deeper into this than anyone, I think, right?
yeah, oh, yeah, but again, we live in Canada, and we're awakened. At least we know about it. We're learning. We're asking questions.
Yeah,
Thing. It's people who stuff it underneath the carpet and say that's foolish. That's not real. That's not buying me a new Dodge truck. I don't want to learn about that. Well, that's okay.
yeah. No, it's weird too. I was checking the Bible to see if they had any records of what happened to this bloodline of the Canaanites and the Hittites, and I even found a quote that mentioned exactly what happened to them. And I don't know if people really notice how extensive the brutality of it was. It was like Deuteronomy verse 20:17 says that you shall not leave anything alive that breathes, utterly destroy them. The Hittites that we mentioned, the Amorites, and the Canaanites. And as the Lord God commanded you, so that they may not teach you. I was like, here's the quote right there of what happened to them, right? It's even in the Bible.
Enlil, he's the God of the Old Testament. Enlil, and Enki's the God of the New Testament.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it seems like there was the Old Testament, New Testament, and then we even have the before the flood testament that you could
Right.
split it up into again.
And
But
then one offspring, and they produce Abraham. Between Abraham, the time before Abraham and after, they produced the three covenants: the Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, and they become really almost a way of teaching people, which is fine. But as we are away from them and we evolve into more who we are as modern human beings, that Ba and Ka energy gets confused, and too many people get confused with one type of energy and they forget about the Ka energy, or they don't have any Ka energy and they just concentrate on the Ba energy. So it's a balance in this matrix of learning which energy, by not becoming religious, to put it that way. I know it sounds crazy, but by
yeah,
not following the Abrahamic religions, all three of them, I'm not saying they won't lead you in the right place. I'm just saying it seems that they misled us and got us to fight among each other so that they could feed off this energy, is what it looks like.
yeah.
They're a bunch of energy pigs is what they are.
Yeah, it's like we can't take the Bible at face value that everyone's talking about. You almost have to dig deeper into it yourself and find
And
out some of the clues that are in there. It's like some
Enki,
of it's been overlooked almost, it seems.
it's fascinating once you realize who Enki and Enlil are in the Bible, the Old
Yeah,
Testament God. Fascinating. One's a beautiful man that creates humankind in all the texts, and the other one's just a dictator that comes from Nibiru. His dad sends him here, and he barks and yells and lets the planet get flooded and wipes everybody out. It's just
yeah,
or Noah survives, Enki's son, and they start the process all over again. It's
yeah,
kind of a twisted narrative. Let's put it that way, for
yeah.
sure.
Now, I checked out some ruins that were in Turkey just with Google and Google Maps and all that, and they showed how a lot of them were smashed and you couldn't really tell what it was. But I was comparing it to the winged disc version of the Mesopotamians, and man, does it ever look similar?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
It's
then
a,
what was it too? I was like, what could the Hittites have taught us? How the Bible said that they didn't want us to be taught. And it turned out that the Hittites, not only could they read cuneiform, but they were also familiar with modern European languages, or the beginning of them. So it's like they could have been the ones that taught us what was copied from the Bible and what was changed and how it became the Bible from the cuneiform. They were like the missing link.
yes, very, very much so. I would agree with you there.
Because, like,
Totally.
yeah, look, they even had the sphinxes going and everything. It's like these Hittite guys, I wish we learned more about them in school. It's like, holy, that would have been great studies.
That's all stuffed underneath the carpet. And you know why? It doesn't fit the narrative of the people who, are running. They don't want us to know. They don't want us to awaken. They want to put fluoride in the water, coat your pineal gland, and make you dumb, and go get your job, pay your bills, pay your rent, and that's it. They don't. This is so fascinating, this stuff. I don't understand how people don't want to learn about it.
Yeah, well, I think it's only a matter of time. The way everyone's getting more information these days with YouTube and not from the TV as much.
Joe Rogan says, "Who wants to watch TV when you got YouTube?" And he's right.
Yeah, no, it's hard to watch TV these days. It just can't keep up with the information you're getting off YouTube. It's almost like watching reruns over and over. It just isn't going to cut it anymore.
No, the information, we've really got a lot of information on YouTube now. And you know yourself, and it's not all real, but, you
Yeah,
know,
takes a bit of deciphering, but if you get a good background going, you consult some experts, it really helps.
yeah, that obviously that's the main thing, right? Get a good baseline so you know what you're learning about. And from there, you can see the garbage. Like Flat Earth is literally, it's a psyop. It's a fool. Only a fool will play into that Flat Earth trick, right?
Yeah, the whole issue I have with the flat Earth is people are almost getting to the point where we were starting to question NASA and ask them, like, what's the big deal? And then all of a sudden the flat Earth came out and you're looked at crazy if you question NASA now. So it's like almost like a diversion or something. It's like we got that close to getting them the answers out of them, and now you just can't question them, or you're considered crazy flat earther. It's
Well, the
like,
thing, every so many miles, every 8 miles or 9 miles, you go up in the atmosphere, you can see the curvature of the Earth. So there's, is it real? I can say whatever I want. There's so many people saying one thing or the other, but I give this thought to. I want people to think about this. If the Earth was flat and we live inside of a dome,
yeah,
how did that how did that let the Anunnaki come here and create mankind? Where does it fit in?
yeah,
All say that we've got how many texts that tell us this is how we were created, this is where we came from. So, and then there's these odd couple that kind of stick out. Well, those ones get put aside, but the rest all tell the same similar story, whether you're in Canada, America, South America, or Mesopotamia. It's the same story. Same beings came here, did what they did, showing millions of years, or at least a million years ahead of us in technology. You know,
Yeah.
even those little cylinder seals that they have, and you've seen them, we can't even figure out how they made them so tiny that when you roll them out on wet clay, we can't even duplicate those things. How did they make those?
Yeah.
Take a look at those. Take a good look at what those really are. They're pretty neat. Especially the one with the 12, it's showing the 12 planets, eh? Especially that one.
Yeah. No, when I was at the museum back in August, I found a couple. I'll see if I can get a picture of one of them here. It's like some of the detail on it's just incredible. Like, I guess modern artists might be able to do it today, but it's definitely not going to be easy, that's for sure.
Put the one on that has Enki handing the plow, or is it Enlil hands the plow to the Sumerian being. He's giving him the plow. You see him ushering it. I guess that's the age of agriculture being ushered in by Enlil giving that plow to the little Sumerian dude. Well, he seems so little, and he's even sitting down. Look how big he still is, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've got my photos here, but let's see.
I love that one, though.
Yeah, I'll have to keep digging for it. It's hard to get onto my desktop because I got so many windows going right now. Yeah, maybe I'll be able to find that one another time.
I'm just glad that I could meet somebody else in Canada that's awakened as well. Just somebody else that I can just bounce ideas, and you can bounce things off of me, and vice versa. It's this world that we live in, and this city that I live in here. There's nobody that's awakened around me, and I mean that. I'm my girlfriend and me. You've seen on my Facebook, Mia, right? My girlfriend. So she's fully awake. My mom she passed away about 1.5 years ago. So
oh, sorry to hear.
that's it. I don't have anybody else. And that's when I really became close with Gerald and his wife and started asking them, well, what can I do? And then he started explaining to me about astral plane traveling. Change your diet, start eating plant-based foods, and begin meditating and begin astral plane traveling. And you can actually go see people while you're still living in this third dimension here, and you can leave here and come back and forth. Easier said than done, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, easier said than done. But
okay, yeah. Here I found some of the cuneiform ones. Let's see what I got. I don't know if that's the one with the plow or that might be a different one. Yeah, could be it's definitely a giant next to some other guys, though, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, you see the plow. He's giving him the plow right there, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, in his hand there.
That's the plow. He's ushering in the plow for agriculture for humankind.
Yeah, let's see what other ones I got. There was one with the winged disc, and that one's a pretty old one, too.
All the barn animals that we have today were all created on Nibiru, and they were brought here to feed humankind.
Yeah, it's amazing how some of these species seem to have been domesticated, yet we don't have the timeline to account for the amount of time it would have taken to do that. So It's like something happened to speed up the process.
Yeah, Mr. Geneticist and his sons.
Yeah, well, this was a kind of a cool one. They had the cuneiform on like a cylinder seal so you could roll it out and make copies. And then this one, they had a cone. It's like I haven't seen cuneiform on cone shapes before too often.
No, I haven't even seen that one before. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's cool. If anyone's in Toronto and they want to check out some of these cuneiform things in person, they actually have the exhibits set up all year, I think, for this stuff. So you don't even have to go at a special time or anything. Yeah, they had some winged disc symbology in there, and holding the dual images. Who's it? Richard Casaro is a really cool researcher who shares a lot of images about the dual imagery. Yeah, they had some of the Anunnaki pictures there in the museum. Yeah, even one's holding that magic bag, too. The one that I like to research all the time.
Yeah, that duality will never leave this dimension that we're in. It will always, always, always be here. That, whether it's the bag, whether it's just that duality, good, bad, light, dark. It's that duality that gives us, from the beginning of time right till now, it's not changed, and I don't think it will ever change. It's something part of this third dimension that we live in, that duality.
Yeah. Now, what else was I looking at that museum? Yeah, it was pretty cool. I found another image of the magic bag. They always show it in Sumerian stuff, but they had one there from Egypt, too. I haven't seen too many Egyptian examples of it. So I figured I would share that one.
Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. Oh yeah, and then I should show you too that offering table shape. Where is it? That one that I was trying out up north. When we got to the museum, I happened to find more that they had there, and compared the two. Let's see what we got. Yeah, so they had the same offering table shape from Egypt and even Rome pyramids, but the one that we got up north in Canada is around 6000 BC, so the date for it is really pushing one of the oldest ones. And I think that's why it's more primitive. Maybe that Cain was using it, and it could be one of the first ones that he had built, or maybe he happened to just find it there and start using it.
Right.
Hmm. Yeah, it's amazing if you're ever in Ontario and you want to go check out some of this stuff. It's like a town called Kirkland Lake. It's the second best gold mines in the world, and this is some of the mystery stuff that they got going on there. It's some of the best clues I've ever seen.
Speaking of gold mines, I mean, that's why they came here to gather. One of the things they came to get was that gold, eh?
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. If they're going to banish Cain to some place, and those gods were the Anunnaki, wouldn't they banish him to somewhere that had gold? And then this Kirkland Lake place has the second best gold in the entire world. So I think it's a good candidate for Nod. I'm not trying to bash anyone else's research that they might have found Nod too, but I think it should be considered at least up there
Yeah, yeah.
as one of the theories.
As you know, Africa is such a huge place with gold, eh?
Yeah.
Tons and tons come out of there every year still to this day. It's,
No,
yeah, a lot.
yeah, and then just down the street from that offering table that we got up there up north, there was a Stonehenge that I was researching, and I happened to map it out with the drone on this trip, and it was the Draco constellation. So I was like, man, isn't that a wild connection that we have a Stonehenge up north in Ontario that's the same shape as Draco?
Cool, eh?
Yeah, and then that image that we looked at before with the pyramid, how it used to point at Orion's belt, the other mystery shaft happens to point to Draco also. So it's like there's that Draco connection and to the pyramids even.
So were they using these energy, once these things were up and running, were they using those light beams as a way to travel? Or was that just sending energy there?
Well, I'm thinking they were able to send energy, they were able to send data, and then in extreme cases, I think they could use that Merkaba technology where you transform your body into pure energy or light, and then
Yep.
use that to go across the network as well.
It's funny you say that because that's what we are. We're eternal light beings. That's exactly what we are.
Yeah. No, when I was a kid, this is one of the things that got me started researching is I had a paranormal encounter with light beings when me and my friend, well, my friend at the time was, we encountered them and it changed my life, really. And then what was it too? That offering table shape that we found in up north there. I was checking it out to see if there was a relationship between offering tables and Stonehenges, and it happens to match the Stonehenge shape. So I was like, that's what Stonehenge used to look like a computer simulation
Right.
when it was first created. So I don't think it's a coincidence there that the offering table and Stonehenge are right next to each other, and the gold spot too.
No, it wouldn't be just a coincidence. It's
Yeah. No, I'm wondering what's going to happen. Like, my blog on this is going to be published in the next few days, I hope. And I don't know if it's just going to be one of those things that doesn't get a lot of hits or likes, or maybe people will really look into this more, I'm hoping. Because it's like we're on the verge of solving some really big mysteries. It's just all a matter of getting some help working on it and sharing it. So, hoping people share the blog when it's out.
Well, it's funny because we've already been studying a lot of this stuff, not all of it, but a lot of what we're talking about for 30 years. I've already been researching it and studying it myself, so
Yeah,
a lot of friends slowly awakening around me, but they're not at the point yet where I can sit and have a conversation like I'm having with you right now.
yeah.
So it's hard to say, it's hard to say, but I got my fingers crossed that people really start awakening and really start wanting to absorb this information and what they can learn about our ancient hidden past. That's all hidden from us, you know.
Yeah, one of the main reasons I was thinking it was a Stargater they could use travel to is me and a friend of mine were researching the offering table, and she lives in Bulgaria, and she happened to notice that they have one there that's almost the exact same. And it's like it's so similar, it's almost uncanny how they put the villages or built villages in the same spot. They had the roads going on the same angles, even some of the similar terrain in the backgrounds. Even the elevation points are like only a couple of feet off between the two. So I
Yes,
was thinking Bulgaria is maybe the opposite end of one of these gates because it's close to the Holy Land, like north of the Holy Land near the Mediterranean. So they could have been shipping the gold back from this site all the way back using these as stargates.
yes.
And even if it wasn't over the stargates too, the spot in Canada is right close to the Ottawa River. And I don't know if you follow Ontario's geography, but the Ottawa River goes right down to the St. Lawrence and then to the ocean. So
Right.
there's the old world highway they could have moved this gold back to the Holy Land on.
Yeah, no doubt, eh? Yeah, fascinating. Just love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, I made a quick drone video. If you want to see the Stonehenge site, I could play it here, or do you still got time? I don't want to keep you all night.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Alright, I'll throw the drone video on. We'll see how it goes. I might have to close it depending if my computer's able to handle running all this stuff at once. Alright, well, viewers, we'll be right back in a second. This video is only about a minute or two long, so I'll just start it up and see how it goes. The Canadian Stonehenge, the Draco constellation. Each stone sits on balanced rocks. The site is dated approximately 6000 BC. The rocks are massive in size, not easy to move. Rock patterns align with the solstices. The natives call it a power spot for spirits. The trees have grown in, blocking the view. Making it difficult to see, even from above.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of hidden. It's really
King
difficult to
Solomon's
see.
gold mine could be here. It's located next to a sacred mountain.
Oh yeah, I see that now. How they're showing that. Yeah. that
As
does-
above,
it really does
so
look like it,
below.
doesn't it? Wow.
A clearing leads up to the sacred stones. It measures 240 feet across and
248
85
across.
feet wide. Just like the stone ship burial sites of the Vikings.
Yeah, you definitely post that.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't take too much time and play the whole credits, but man, if anyone wants to see a HD version of that too, I filmed it in 4K. I can't play the 4K on the live stream because it'll crash it, but it's even more impressive if you watch it in full resolution. And isn't it wild how it's like the Vikings built these sacred stone sites with these big runways leading up to it, just like we got here in Canada, and hardly anyone's even talked about it yet. There was a university professor who wrote a blog on it a couple years ago, and it's definitely not gone viral yet, that's for sure. I'm surprised it hasn't.
I'm just waiting for our friends from our friends Gerald and them to connect the Viking gods. They've connected a lot of other dots, so that's going to be the You know, and it's funny you're saying that because of this
Mm.
spot in Canada, what it looks like, and you know, it is what I think you're saying it is. I mean, it's, you know, it's not even talked about, not even looked about, not even thought about, right?
Yeah. No, another of the wild parts of this theory, I guess I should show it to you, is that offering table shape matches the ones that the Aztecs were using. And it's like that Aztec theory that Gerald's mentioned on the show before, how he wandered from way up north and he came down and he built the city of Tenochtitlan. So I was thinking maybe this is the site way up north that he wandered from, as we got this offering table shape that matches way up in Canada at the world's second best gold mine. So if it could be a coincidence, but man, I think there also could be something to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
that offering table happens to be on a mountain that's in the shape of two pillars. It's like divided right up the middle. And that's where the offering table's up there. So it's like there's like almost some more symbology just to how the mountain itself is shaped. It's really incredible.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Bizarre looking. It just,
No, there's some scary stuff that's happened on this Sacrifice Mountain too. Like I camped up there alone a few times without knowing this, but apparently some guy was butchered up there in the 1950s, some sort of weird like sacrificial way. So people sometimes argue that it's not a sacrifice mountain, but why would you have stuff like that going on? Like this is a really small town up here, a couple hundred people, so it's not too common to get these brutal murders going on. Right?
no.
Yeah, so it's a little bit scary to look into this stuff, but I still encourage people to look into it because we got to get to the bottom of it. And isn't it weird too that that city that Gerald mentioned, Tenochtitlan, that Cain might have built when he wandered all the way down here, it matches the same description as Atlantis. How it was like a round-shaped city built on water. It fell out of favor with the gods. It's almost directly across from Gibraltar on the map of the world scale, so who knows, Atlantis could be like hidden under today's Mexico City this whole time, and we keep looking in the ocean trying to find spots, but it's been under a city maybe, not the ocean.
Yeah, it very, very well could be. Uh, the a lot of people, you know, not a lot of people, but a lot of people either think it's up north or it's the South Pole or it's under the North Pole.
Yeah,
And
yeah, there's so many theories to it. It's like I really hope people start at least considering this one.
yeah,
No, and then there was another weird coincidence we came across on the trip. Is like, remember how I was saying that offering table matches the one in Bulgaria? Well, that was like ancient Thrace. Well,
right.
the Canadian government happened to mint the first gold coin out of that mine, and they put a Thrace image on the coin. So it's like it's almost like another clue hidden in plain sight.
Oh
They,
yeah.
they had the Thrace horsemen and slaying the dragon. That was actually my friend Maya who came all the way from Bulgaria to help me research this, and she herself was even amazed that Canada would have put such a symbol on a coin. Could it just be another coincidence?
Yeah, you got a point there. I mean,
Mm.
it definitely could go home.
It's almost like some people know about this and they're putting the clues right in plain sight for people to find.
It's almost like all the knowledge right from the beginning of time is like that, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like the United States having an eagle for their Enlil, showing Enlil sign for for the United States. Mexico having the eagle with the serpent, killing the serpent in its town.
yeah, that's the one there actually. The Mexican coat of arms.
Right. So,
Yeah,
you know,
that image actually really hits home for me because when I had that light being encounter when I was a kid, they actually gave me a coin and it had that same image on it. So that's one of the clues that sort of got me going on this mystery.
I look at it as Enlil is the eagle and Enki's the freaking snake. That's how I look at that. But that's, you know, that's how I studied and learned about this, right? Um, it's that duality. It'll never leave this planet. It will always be here. That it's so I don't know. It's so strange that everything is like that in that dual. Whether it's light and dark, good, bad, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Enki and you're the snake and the bird, right?
Well, you've
Yeah.
you've seen what is it, Billy Carson's work before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was the one who shared this image with me when I was researching the coin, because I was trying to link that image to an offering table like the one I found up north. And there's the original image from the museum, and it turns out that he is sitting on a guy that was sacrificed. So there's
Right.
the connection between that coin or the Mexican coat of arms that it was an offering table that it's coming out of.
all the way in Canada.
Yeah. Like, who would have thought, really? It's like all the way these clues all have started to line up. It's almost hard to believe, and even for myself being in the middle of it. It's like some days I wish I never had the encounter with the light beings, because it can cause a lot of stress dealing with this stuff at the same time, but I still try to get to the bottom of it nonetheless. Yeah, and there was some of the sacred bags and how they have it Göbekli Tepe. The Armenians had it, the Assyrians, the Olmecs even had it. It's like the big one with that Olmec picture, it's funny. Like, I don't know if you ever seen people's work where they find images in nature matching different things. Like, sort of how like a mountain can look like an Indian sometimes. Or I was checking out the lake, and I found another clue for that. Like the picture of the lake. Here, I'll see if I can find it. It's the same image of this Olmec guy. I don't know, it's not everyone can see it, but man, when I compared the two, it's like I think it's uncanny how close they are together. See if I can grab it here. Ah, yeah, here's the folder. Where is it? 1, 2, there we go. Yeah, see, this is a picture of the lake, and it's almost got the same type of shaman holding out a magic bag, and he's got the nose apparatus going just like there. He's got the circle on the back of his head like the Olmec guy's got going there. He's got the like mohawk symbol sticking out the top in the same spot. It's like almost like the clue is hidden in nature itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever taken a look at the Freemason work too. I took a picture of the mountain from a distance so I could get a better perspective of it, and then looked at some of the Freemason artwork, and it's almost near identical the way it's shaped. Like the mountain goes down and has a little curve on the right-hand side. It's got that there too. The Freemasons put a divider in the middle of the mountain, right where that is. There's a cave hidden on the left side, just like they put in the drawing. The river for the Ottawa River going back for shipping the gold happens to be on the right side. And the Freemasons drew a biblical type ship right on the right side of that one. And then even the way the road curves up in the pattern, it's almost the same. There's a lodge right at the beginning. And then this image from Freemasonry is supposed to have something to do with King Solomon. So if this really was King Solomon's mine, there would be a big clue right there.
Wow. Who'd have thought that, eh?
Yeah. Now, I've showed this to a few Freemason friends of mine, and they're not really too sure, or maybe they don't want to say, but I don't know. And then they called the image from darkness to light, so I'm wondering if that's like the symbology of using that offering table from darkness to light. Oh yeah, that was the other clue too, is the offering table is located right here for stargazing, and the Freemasons drew it in the same spot with the star going down to it. And they even had people up there. So I don't know how many things could be the same on this for people not to think they're a little bit, at least a little bit similar. Yeah.
You're not going to get Freemasons to admit anything. I have some friends out in British Columbia.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of controversial research in the old school Freemasonry, how they used to research the Aryans a lot. So I'm sure just mentioning that in today's political environment, that you could get yourself into a lot of trouble talking about the Aryans. Right?
Yeah, they don't talk about that stuff at all. Right?
Yeah, it's like you wouldn't have to do much to silence someone, because just talking about it on your own would get yourself in trouble. So yeah, and then I mapped the two spots. What is it? The Stonehenge that they have in Bulgaria and their offering table, and then our Canada's offering table in Stonehenge, and they're almost like mirrored or inverted. And the distance apart is similar to the halfway point. Greenland and Iceland would almost make the two pillars. So I often wondered, maybe this was the imagery these like mirrored images have been talking about all the time, is these two guys were Cain and Abel.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this is where they started, or maybe where Cain or killed Abel and then he got banished to Nod. And it's like the whole planet itself is like a giant mystery, and the clues are built into even the geography.
Yeah, maybe, eh? Very, very well could be. Very well could be.
Now, there was another slide I found. I don't know if I'll be able to find it here. No, but there's an image how the ancient Aztecs and the Asian people talk about how there's an offering table picture on the moon. So it's like that same offering table picture that you found in the lake is also in a moon, or our moon. And people can look at it any time and see it for themselves. It's like another clue hidden right for everyone to see.
That moon is just a really odd thing, eh?
Yeah, I really hope NASA gets their act together and does some more exploration, but I'm wondering if it's the Anunnaki that are preventing it, right?
Well, and you know what happened 60 years ago when they in the 60s when they landed there, the Freemason they were Freemasons that landed there supposedly. You know, Neil Armstrong, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
they did their thing there at 33 degrees, and they landed, and you know they were on an open channel. They weren't on the medical channel. They were on an open channel, and they said there's a craft watching us from the other side of the disc. And they quickly tried to tell them, look, go on the medical channel. But it was
Yeah.
too late. The ham operator radios had picked that up. They'd gotten those first few words. That was enough. And you know, supposedly we've never been back. They're lying. I listen to Billy Carson.
Yeah.
I paid for Gaia for a year in advance, and
Nice.
and you should go for the $10 or $12 for the month, $10 or whatever it is. Pay for the month. Go on there and watch Forbidden Knowledge with
Okay.
Billy, and go watch that. That he goes deep about the Anunnaki. He goes really deep about the Anunnaki, Mars, and our Earth.
Yeah, I actually went to see a live speech that Buzz Aldrin did in Toronto in 2008. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like he talked in like this really melatonin voice and almost put the entire crowd asleep after like an hour of talking. But then he
Well,
released some information about the moon that I never thought he was going to say. He said that when he made his trip there, that walking on the moon wasn't the most important thing that he saw, but it was actually his first orbit that he made around. And he said when he got to the dark side of the moon, he saw a giant crater and that there was a pyramid right in the center of the crater, and it just totally floored him. And like the audience barely even blinked an eye at it because like they were all half asleep at him talking about bolts and how the ship was assembled for an hour. I was hoping so much that he was going to mention it again, but 2008 was so many years ago now, and hardly anyone's even mentioned that before. So maybe
no,
there was like an Anunnaki base on the backside of the moon, and even astronauts are telling people, and no one's listening.
it's probably the little grays are there, and they're mining that unpentium. What was that gentleman's name in 1998? He came from some place from Groom Lake and said that he was working on freaking uh,
Yeah, either Jonathan Lear or I always get it mixed up. There was another guy, not
came
Hutchison, no.
came out and started saying that he was working on stuff that could fly way past technology we have today. No one believed him, but then he started talking about the moon, and he said
Yeah.
there's an element called element 115.
Yeah, and then just recently they proved that it matched the description that he gave all those years back, and how would he have known before we did, right?
Well, we're talking about the table right now. Element 115 is
Yeah.
on. They think that they actually use that maybe to power these crafts. But this could be the Greys, this other little biological entity. Where they fit into the whole scheme, I'm not sure. Are they just little beings that the Anunnaki created to stay here and gather information and gather DNA and different things like that? You know, people are saying they're being abducted and they're being inseminated with sperm, and then 6 months later they're being taken back onto the ship. Women are saying that, and then these babies are being taken out of them, and then they go back a year or 2 years later. They're strapped down again on this ship,
Yeah.
young little entity. They don't know what kind of a connection they have to them, but they feel the connection, and they realize it's a star child. It's half human, half whatever, right?
Yeah, that'd be some scary stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I know it's really hard for people to swallow. I totally get it because it's hard for me to swallow too. But
Yeah.
this is the information that women are giving throughout the world, saying that. And you know, look at the girl. I watched a good one in British Columbia.
Oh
Grew up
yeah.
as a child in Vancouver. Was abducted many times. Her family moved her to Kelowna, and she said, "You know, isn't this great that I don't see those beings no more?" Well, she's got her license. She's 18 now. Two big grays jump on this Jeep, try to drag her out of there.
Holy.
That one was pretty good. It hits home because I live so close to there, and she seems
Yeah.
so honest, so sincere. She's not trying to get 15 minutes of fame or trying to gain anything from this. She's just telling us what happened to her. So I wonder.
No. Yeah, usually when you talk about this stuff, you risk losing everything. So it's like people will stop talking to you. You could lose your job or your credibility. So I doubt a lot of people are going to be talking about it for no reason whatsoever. Or,
No, that definitely not. That to me,
yeah.
you can't live in the matrix and talk about stuff like that. People just think you got to take a pill, go home and lay down, right?
Yeah.
But
No, I was talking to Rex on Facebook, and he said he was going to get me on a show one day to talk about this. the offering table shape that we got up north there matches the one not only the Aztecs were using, but it matches that Göbekli Tepe site design as well. And then the Great Ziggurat of Ur, it's also the same shape. So it's like the Phoenicians had it. It's like there's almost like a cycle going on of like technology rising and falling and rising and falling like a sine wave or something, right?
Yeah, and there just happens to be another spot that's here in Canada that hasn't been talked about yet.
Yeah.
That's
No, I'm keeping my fingers crossed if I get onto Rex's show, if he happens to see this, maybe we can speed it up to get me on there because I'd really love to talk to him about it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's friends with both of us, so.
Nice. Yeah, I know he's really busy because he's doing so many episodes. I think he does at least 1 or 2 a day even now.
Blows him out fast, man. I don't think anybody keeps up with him, but he's interviewed every person on this planet that thinks that he's got some of the best people that he's interviewed. Yeah, he truly does. Yeah.
No, I definitely really appreciate you coming onto the show because it's hard to get anyone to talk to about this, like you said, around here. Most of my friends, when I talk to them about it, I've gone on about it so much they don't want to hear it anymore.
No, and mine are slowly learning about it, but it's, again, there's just so few of us, and I asked Gerald, why is that? Why is there so few of us spread throughout the world that have awakened? He goes, well, some people awakened a little quicker than others. As December 21st, 2012 came, we left 6,500 years of Pisces, and we've gone into the golden age of Aquarius now. So a lot of people in the past 5 years have awoken. I've noticed that myself.
Yeah. But that was actually the date that I started going to explore up north because I watched a show, what is it called, America on Earth by Scott Walter, and it happened to air on December 21st of 2012, so it was weird how that's like was the turning point for me as well.
Oh, that's cool. I'm just more people awakening. I've been awake since I watched that documentary 30 years ago. So I'm just by myself alone waiting for other people to awaken. A few of us watched it and we awoke right then. It's fascinating. I knew there was more to this. There was more to the story than what we were being told. The narrative was just so narrowed down. And once we could see that, go on Gaia and really investigate Billy Carson. Go on there and just click on his episodes and listen to him. He's really good too. He lays it out, but he lays it out so well. Mars, Earth, and the Moon. He lays that out really, really well. Really well.
Yeah, I've seen some of the Mars anomaly videos he does, and it's like, holy cow, it's like he's almost found tanks and buildings and everything there. It's incredible.
It's not even something I try to explain to people. You just got to go watch it. You can't explain it. There's so much of it. There's so much between the moon, the domes, the towers. And what I like on the moon is that puff of smoke. That camera's flying over the moon, and there's this little 5, 10 foot, 100 foot, however tall it is, black steam stack sticking out of the moon, and as it goes by, it puffs a little bit of smoke live as it goes by. When you see that, it really, it's like there's something going on there. Is there more to this story than we've been told? But nobody wants to accept it.
This was, I finally found it. The image that those light beings gave me was on this coin. It's like not a very old coin from 1964, but they gave it to me about, 1990 or so. So I've been at it for nearly 30 years as well. But I took breaks and periods where I focused on other stuff like school and then came back to the research, and it's gone in waves for me too.
Yeah, we've all had to, because living in the Matrix, we got to make money and we have to pay bills to survive, feed ourselves, car insurance, all those things, right?
Yeah. It's cool too that that gold mine has an old military base that's abandoned now, but it used to have UFO sightings next to it. So I'm wondering if maybe that's the Anunnaki connection, that the UFOs are still them watching the gold and seeing what kind of progress has been going on there.
Sure it is.
Yeah, there's what the base looks like now. It's like in ruins, but they still have some of the towers active. Just the majority of it's in ruins. And it's built on top of a dormant super caldera. So there could be some sort of caves underground that are still going.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. And now modern day today, they're saying that there's $2 trillion worth of lithium ion found over in Africa. And, there are all these claims, there's all these diseases in the area. They're just trying to keep people away from all sources.
Yeah.
It's a way of them getting all the gold, getting all the ions, getting all the lithium ion. It just seems like it's all one them getting everything off this planet and stripping it of all its resources, whatever they can get.
Yeah. No, here was an image that I got that shows just how big the gold is there. It stretches for over 12 kilometers. And compared to the CN Tower, it's like way deeper than the CN Tower is even tall.
Wow.
And then here is the proof, too, that in Canada, that Kirkland Lake gold is ranked number 2 and the highest grade in the entire world. So it's not like the Anunnaki wouldn't have their eye on this place if it's ranked number 2, right? It's weird too, like most people talk about gold mines, they hardly ever mention Northern Ontario. It's always like Alaska or somewhere else or Africa, I guess. Yeah, and there's what it looks like if you ever want to take a campsite up there. It's like the view from the top of this mountain is pretty intense. Yeah, and they even have like quartz rock sticking out. You can almost make gold sticking out of it. So, like, I don't recommend anyone trying to go up there and mining the Holy Mountain because it's going to be strictly forbidden from the First Nations people and stuff. But some other people mine in the area there, even just panning the rivers, and they're still pulling gold out of it. Yeah, and there was a different elevation. You can see it's only like, what, 30 or so meters difference in elevation between these two ancient sites. Yeah, so I guess I covered a lot of the slides that I wanted to show you. I probably shouldn't get into any new topics because we've already been talking for over, well, looks like almost an hour and a half now. Time flies. Yeah, well, thanks again for coming on the show. I guess maybe I lost connection with the guests there. Yeah, he did mention that he was talking to me on a cell phone. So I'll just wrap up the show. Yeah, and thanks for people joining in the chat there too. It was nice to be able to get a live question answered while having a guest. That's 2 firsts for my show, and hopefully people share the show and get the information out there. And make sure to tune into Gerald's new podcast coming up with Rex there and Matthew. It's like I'm definitely going to be watching it. Can hardly wait to see it. And yeah, I guess thanks again everyone for watching, and have a good night. Take care. Oh, I guess I'll mention the guest name that was on. I think I forgot to do that at the beginning. Sorry about that. Yeah, that was Craig that was on the show. Yeah, so thanks a lot, Craig, for coming on the show, and hopefully we can have you on again soon, and we'll get a desktop version going, so it'll be a little bit easier to stay connected longer and won't drop. But yeah, that was an awesome conversation. I hope all the viewers liked it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. All right, talk to you later, everyone. Have a good one.
The Magi Show was brought to you by the Milky Way. I fucking hate this galaxy.